Previously on Gears.
Hello?
Vikesh Maharaja!
Hey, Sasha, how's it going?
I'm very well, and you, my friend? Where are you?
I'm actually having some lunch.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt your lunch, Vikesh.
No problem. It's all cool.
Do you want to send it back
Are
to
we going to talk Formula One?
Yeah, I thought maybe you want to send it back to the kitchen, get them to keep it warm for you.
No, it's a cold lunch. It's a healthy lunch.
Very nice. All right. Vic, I'm sorry to interrupt you there, my friend, but let's have a quick little look at this weekend, the Spanish Grand Prix. This is a critical Grand Prix in the sense that most of the major updates for the season will arrive at this Grand Prix. So you got to believe that hopefully some of the teams that have been struggling a bit are going to find a little bit more form.
Well, I think that's the aim of most teams. You know, we've seen basically over the first four Grand Prix that a lot of teams held back updates and decided to introduce them today at this particular Grand Prix. It's a normal reset of the season to try and, if you started off on the basically not particularly fast, you're kind of hoping that this will possibly give you some sort of a chance to recoup some of the losses, you know, McLaren specifically, Williams as well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, a lot of people were watching FP1 today, but a lot of guys put a lot of the updates on, but unfortunately weather conditions didn't help them too much to get an analysis of what was happening. However, we're expecting a dry FP2, and hopefully that will give the guys a good chance to analyze all the data, analyze all the upgrades. I mean, quite a few cars have got some massive upgrades, and some cars not so much, you know. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how this all plays out over the course of today and tomorrow at this Grand Prix.
I must say, I was mentioning it a little bit earlier, don't read too much into the times of today. But Vic, one thing that I found quite significant, and we saw at the last Grand Prix in Bahrain, Red Bull a little bit on the back foot, and traditionally over the last two seasons, they haven't really done a lot in FP1. We saw in Bahrain, all of a sudden they were right up there in free practice one. Now they seem to be going back to their status quo, 19th and 20th for Vettel and Webber. Something says to me they've got something that's going to show up extremely well.
Well, I think that they're going to be particularly good in FP2. I think a lot of teams will be hoping that they're not going to be strong because obviously the performance we saw from Sebastian Vettel at the last Grand Prix was just unbelievable, and if they have a similar performance here, you could almost start to say that they would be good favourites for the World Championship. However, historically, I think last season they didn't have a particularly good Grand Prix. Yet, if you look at the characteristic of the track, the tyre wear of this track, you almost say that this would be a circuit that's tailor-made for Red Bull, especially from the aerodynamics side of things, where we know that Adrian Newey is simply superb with that. Adrian Newey himself has come out and said that it's a massive upgrade for the Red Bull team, particularly at this weekend's Grand Prix, and that sometimes leaves alarm bells because, you know, you think if Adrian Newey comes with a huge upgrade, the only thing that can happen with that car is that it's just going to get faster. So I think we have to watch free practice 2. It'll give us a clear indication of where things are. Free practice 3 as well. You know, those two sessions coming up, hopefully they'll be dry and give us a very good indication. I tend to agree with you that I do think that Red Bull has some performance in hand, and we will see it shortly.
Looking at the two Ferraris, I mean, topping the timesheets, as I mentioned, you can't really read too much in it. But when all of a sudden the track conditions changed this morning, Vic, they were immediately on the pace.
Yeah, they were. And, you know, the thing is, if you look at it over the last few races, if you really do some in-depth looking and piercing the veil, you have to say that Ferrari have a very quick car. They're in a much better position than they were last year. I do expect Alonso and Felipe Massa to really be challenging for good results at this Grand Prix. The car hasn't changed significantly. That maybe tells you that intrinsically it's been a very good car for them over the first four Grand Prix, so not a lot wrong with it. The main thing they've got to try and do is get good pace on a Saturday afternoon to put the car up front, and we know that they start exceptionally well. So, you know, they're on the first 2 rows of the grid, maybe even the first 3 rows of the grid going into the first corner. It's the longest run, I think, of the year to corner 1, which will give them possibly a very good opportunity to make up grid positions. And we know that Alonso, in front of his home crowd, is superb. He had a fantastic race there last year, and he looks after the actual tyres particularly well. So, you know, again, I have to say that I am expecting a strong race from Ferrari this weekend.
Vic, final one. In terms of the tyres, Pirelli have offered them an extra set of, is it the harder compound tyre to test in free practice 2 this afternoon?
Well, they actually used it. I think Jean-Eric Vergne used it this morning. It's a tyre that has no marking on it, so it's not a hard and it's not a medium compound. It's actually a experimental tyre, so it's got no reference to what they're using particularly. Just watch for the cars. They have to give those tyres back today. So if you don't use them, you can't bank them for the rest of the weekend. Jean-Eric Vergne used it. He didn't look particularly fast with it, I must say. But you have to say that he was one of the first guys to venture out with a slick tyre in the wet conditions. I think Pirelli is doing all it can to give the guys enough tyres to run with and build up information for the team to look after tyres during this Grand Prix. It's been such a interesting few weeks that that's at least they're doing something to give the teams more tyres to build up information.
Well, the amazing thing is last year, Vic, it wasn't dissimilar to what we had. All of a sudden, everyone's moaning about the Pirelli tyres in 2013. But in 2012, just, to remind people, in this Grand Prix, the Spanish Grand Prix, Mark Webber pitted on lap 6. Vettel pitted on lap 8. And then the first of the Ferraris or the next contenders pitted on lap 11. So, I don't know what the fuss is about.
Yeah, I'm trying very hard to understand it. I don't think there's much difference to last year. I've got to say Pirelli is one of the biggest reasons we're having such fantastic races and world championships in the last couple of years. So I must say I'm off the camp, and I think you are off the camp as well, to say that they're the guys who have turned around Formula One in the last couple of years. And I think it's just a situation where the teams feel they've got a faster car. They want to drive the car to 100%. But I think you and I remember the days, when tyres lasted virtually the whole Grand Prix. It was very dull and boring races, and this at least puts up some sort of variable into the mix so that at least guys are passing each other. You've got to think a bit more about strategy, and quite frankly, at the end of the day, it's the same for all the teams, all the drivers, all the engineers, and it's up and it's really then at the end of the day who actually makes the best decisions. And if you look at the World Championship over the course of the last 2 years, it's still the best driver in the best car that's won the championship. It hasn't thrown up an unreasonable result that maybe Maldonado wins the World Championship. He wins the race, but still the cream rises to the top.
As always, Vic, great to speak to you, my friend. Enjoy your lunch. We'll see you on Sunday.
Absolutely. We'll see you, Sasha. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, my friend. There we go. Vic Maharaj giving an idea about this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix, which should be a lot of fun.
At the next intersection, turn on Gears with Sasha Martinengo. Weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.